given the tee up of the first, we're now getting into the zone I call the convergence of the crises. What's converging is number one, and I looked at these as three verticals, that number one about national security was ending the kinetic part of the Third World War on the Eurasian landmass, Ukraine, the Middle East, the Red Sea, and hopefully not get into a kinetic conflict with the People's Liberation Army and Navy around Taiwan. That's number one. The other was the getting our sovereignty back of the 10 million illegal alien invaders, seal that, which he did, and start the mass deportation program. Because it's just not criminals, it's got to be all 10 million. They got to go because they're crushing the Black and Hispanic community at the lower skill levels. The third is this enormous existential threat of the economy and debt and everything we pay, and that's tied to the commercial relationships of the Chinese Communist Party. This summer, we're going to have a constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis on the deportations. President Trump, in his second Article 2 powers, is saying, hey, look, let me be blunt. On the unitary theory of the executive, I'm the chief executive officer of the United States by the Constitution. That means I can fire people at these agencies or at my cabinet things as I want, okay? And I don't have to you're gone and you're gone. Number two, go back to the programs and go back to the appropriations and OMB. In those programs, if he deems that they're not hitting their targets or they should be reappropriated, he can impound the money. He can just sit there and go, I have the ability not to spend that. That is going to get that. They're going to fight that. They're fighting this. He's on in court. I think in 50 different lawsuits about that. His second power is as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He declared a national emergency at the border, a national security emergency. He can deport these people. They don't need a deportation hearing. They don't need due process. They're here illegally. They're going to go. And he's already at the Supreme Court on this. And this is going to force, I think, the Supreme Court sometime in June to rule on it. And if they rule that a court has supremacy over him as commander-in-chief, I happen to believe that's going to be an issue. And we're going to have to sort that out at the time. But that's coming. The third is now we're into the phase of actually, Elon's gone. He's left behind. We'll figure out what these frauds were, or the fraud part of it, or the abuse part. But we're stuck with still $6.5 or $7 trillion of spending. Now we have to have a budget that gets serious about defense spending, gets serious about Medicaid, gets serious about these other social programs. All of the cuts are going to hurt. It just is. Because everybody's got a constituency, whether you're a defense contractor or part of the military, and or if you're Medicaid, and or if you're social programs. But while you have that gap, we can't finance $2 trillion a year. It's not doable. The Chinese Communist Party ends up financing a part of it. It puts us more in their grip. The third one is obviously stopping these wars. That's why this Russian rapprochement to break them away from their alliance and allegiance with the Chinese Communist Party, to break off the KGB from the Russian rapprochement. And this is what Witkoff's been working on. The Ukraine, either economic deal or peace deal is a subset of that. The situation with the nuclear power in Persia, which I am adamant that should not be bombing. It's got to be part of this deal. And the third is the situation in Gaza and the Red Sea. So these things are hurtling towards, I think, a climax this summer. So this summer, the next 100 days is going to be 3 times more important, more intense, dramatic, and meaningful than the first 100 days. But here's the good news for us. Our revolution shows us one thing, that if we don't quit, we win. If we do civil war, shows the same thing. It's the side that doesn't quit that eventually wins.